Today, I want to share my thoughts on a personal journey of resilience, transformation, and the power of connection. Have any of you been ever doing all the right things, only to find out that somehow you're feeling getting further away from everything? Have you ever got on an elevator, avoided eye contact at any cost, and stared at those numbers as if 7 wasn't going to follow 6? Or it could also be that you're in a room with, that's a fair size, and you're sending a text or an email to somebody that's 35 feet away. Or if you're a parent, that growing frustration that your children are spending more time with their electronic devices than with you. Well, a little while ago, that was me. I'd worked very hard, I'd succeeded, I'd achieved a lot of great things. I was on a whirlwind of life, except I was losing what was most important to me. Yes, I got success, more success than I'd ever dreamed about. But as I got this success, I found I was working longer hours, not maintaining relationships, and losing track of my human connection. In fact, that's the day that I really discovered what human connection was all about. It was all about humanity. And one of the things I learned about humanity is, as an introvert, I really craved humanity. Matter of fact, so much so that I found I'd even been neglecting my basic human courtesy, such as hello, please, and thank you. Well, I decided that I should do something about it. And what I did that day is found that I was getting a growing frustration, and I took a look at what were the key elements of my life. Well, how many are like you and you find you've got a better relationship with your electronic devices than you do with the rest of the people in your family? I found I was spending more time with computers, telephones, and yes, that ever-convenient AI. Growing frustration hit. I didn't know what to do. And I said, well, I think it's time for me to do something I can control. And so what I did is I put myself in it, and I found the answer. The answer I found was actually very surprising and much more meaningful than I'd ever thought. I can probably capture it in one word. Now, I'll wait and see if you can figure that word by the end. So what I did is I ventured out on my experiment, and the first thing I did is I went and I decided that I was going to do some work in my housing development. My housing development only has 100 homes, and I really don't know many people. So what I did is I decided that what I was going to do is wave to every car that went by. So first day, I thought this was a great experiment. I went out and I started waving. At the end of the first day, only about 10% of the people had actually waved back. Why? I was waving at them, and they weren't waving back. I had tied my shoes, I had a shower. I looked pretty good that day. Why weren't they waving back at me when I waved at them? Was it something I was doing? Well, I resisted temptation and decided that I made an experiment and to keep going at it. So I did. And I did it week over week, month over month. And that 10% grew to 20, that 20 grew to 30, that 30 grew to 40, and finally I knew I was getting somewhere when on the occasional day, people were frantically waving at me and actually pulling over the curb to say hello. But I still didn't have 100%. So I took a look and I learned from my international travels that one of the things that happens is waving can be offensive in some countries like Pakistan and Greece. So what I did is I substituted that. I did it with a nod, a smile, and made eye contact. That got me a few more votes. But in the end, I still wasn't getting 100%. But I didn't give up. I kept doing it. And you know what? What I did learn is I was now more than 50%. And even more importantly, I learned a very important lesson. And the lesson was, we all want to be seen. Second thing involved one woman. And when I walked, part of my daily regimen, I walked the dogs over to the grocery store every day. And coming the other way, one of the things that happens is I run into a woman that's coming the other way. And when she's coming the other way, I decided to say good morning. Now, she always has her head down using her walking poles. And I thought, okay. And she didn't answer. Now, again, to this point, you sort of get frustrated thinking, why am I saying this and no one's answering me? It's an experiment. I must continue. So I did. And after about a month, what happened is she started raising her head and putting it back down again and walking. but I was getting somewhere. Second month, she raised her head and made eye contact with me. By the third month, she was raising her head and saying good morning. By the fourth month, she actually would cross the street to come and see me and say good morning. So what I learned is never give up. People do want to be seen and heard, and that what she wanted is just for somebody to know they cared. Well, I had a third story, and my third story is very simple. I had been neglecting the age dynamic, and I had my chance. I was with family, I was on a boat, and I was put in charge of babysitting a 3-year-old. We all know what that's like. So what I did is I had the responsibility, while everybody was swimming, of keeping her inside the boat, even though she keenly wanted to go out of the boat, but she doesn't like life preservers. Bit of a conflict. So what I did is I said to her, do you want to go out swimming? She said, oh, I want to go out swimming. Well, I also knew that for anybody that has 3-year-olds, they are telling them what to do, they're not going to listen. So I decided to try a different approach. I said, I'm going to give you 2 choices. You can stay with me and we continue to use our toys and play, and you don't have to put on your life preserver. Or you can come with me and we'll go out swimming, but you have to put on your life preserver. I said, the choice is yours. I will be with you no matter which one you choose. Within seconds, she dove towards, grabbed the life preserver, and went in the water. Well, third learning for you. Sometimes we want to be heard before we're told. Well, I take a look at what I learned from those experiments, and one of the things I learned is I had to put something back in my life before I could help get something in their life. Let me go through some of the learnings I had. Some of the learnings were felt heard, felt seen, willing to do the right thing, willing to say if you're wrong, and oh yes, those ever popular currencies such as hello, thank you, etc. These are words, that mean something, but what's more important is the word I'm thinking of. I say every day, I hear every day, and I write every day. What I learned that day was what the true meaning of the word was. You may have guessed it by now, the word is respect. Isn't respect an important part of humanity along with connection? We all strive for it, we want it, and don't we deserve it? It's something that we all wish we had in our lives, it's something we wish people would treat us with, and it's something that's very important. So what I learned that day is how to make a difference, how to let people see that life really matters. Well, today I'm a testament standing before you of how we can all change. We have to take a look at things that enter our lives, reflect, make decisions, make changes, and do what's going to bring joy back to our lives. Because even if you think about the walking experiment I had with waving, I only got 90% of the people to wave, right? But what I got back was 100% return to my happiness and my sense of fulfillment. And I felt good. And by the way, I still to this day work on that other 10% because I think someday I'm going to get them to wave back at me and feel fulfilled, right? So, and there's another important lesson here, I think, too, which is, when you give respect, you get respect back. And that's a powerful weapon. And I think sometimes we also need to learn that in order to give respect, I have to have self-respect. And self-respect is an important value to me. Well, I have 2 things that I can thoughts I can leave you with. First is, I'd like to thank everybody for listening in and getting this far. After all, I've got to practice what I'm going to talk about, and so it's important to communicate that thank you. And I think hopefully it will spark in some of you a chance to reflect, think about where probably you're running short, what you could do, and how you could find more fulfillment in your life and more joy in your life. The other thing is a very simple, I'm going to call it the respect challenge. And the respect challenge is simple. Find some little thing you can do, such as my waving, and just go, try it, and don't give up. See if it makes a difference in your life, and more importantly, if it makes a difference in somebody else's life. Because after all, it's never too late to find respect in your life, and all of our lives need it. Remember, at a minimum, respect is contagious and it's viral. And I'm now going to pass the baton and just let you know that I all see you.